Hey everybody, thanks for coming back to another video. A little bit different than the fishing stuff. We're gonna go back to check in on the trail cameras. We did a little trail camera video when we first moved up here to Maine. So we're gonna go back and look at what those 7 or 8 cams got throughout the course of the year. And there's, there wasn't a whole lot initially and there wasn't a whole lot at the end, but there were a couple exciting things in the middle of the year. So figured might as well circle back to those. I will go and tell you though, right off the bat, I'm gonna spoil it. There is no moose. We did not get a moose picture. We're gonna have to go a little bit north for that, I think. There's a few around, but not a lot, doesn't sound like. So I'll start with the only buck that I got kind of obsessed with, or really the only single buck that I felt like I had enough of a clue of to hunt. And it was this one. So we put the cameras out late August, early September, and it was right at the very start of deer season. This might have been the first Saturday of deer season. I really don't remember. It's close to it though, that I got this buck on picture. And both of these, well, all the trail cameras spots where he shows up at are all in that initial video. This picture is at a spot that had a little rub line going through it on the backside of a creek. And this one, which will be in a lot of these, is where a couple logging roads intersected. And there's actually, it turned out there's a real swampy area that's kind of in this back little V. It goes further and back that he's darn near close to bulletproof when he goes into. But this was a buck that I just got a lot of pictures of in this whole area. I got a few random other bucks here and there. He was definitely the dominant mature buck in this couple 100 acres that I hunted, at least that I found out about. I'm sure there's more, but he definitely seemed to have the rule of the roost. Got him a little bit in October. Here's a great first daylight picture of him on the 18th. What's cool is that this picture that he's at here, or this place that he's at here, if I got a picture of him here, daylight or dark, I always had him here within 12 to 24 hours. These two were the same day. But that was there were a lot of things that he did that were consistent. He was just in a pretty hard spot to get into. But he always, if he came through this spot, he was going to be here within the next 12 to 24 hours, which is pretty cool. Normally it was the same day. But these are a couple cool series of pictures. And I called them, I'm a loser and I like to name bucks that are notable. I called him the Exodus buck because this right side of his rack just looked to me like the Exodus logo, RIP Exodus cameras. But that's just what that reminded me of. So I just called him the Exodus buck. He had a couple cool pictures here where he made, it's hard to see. This was really surprising to me. He makes a little scrape right here. There was one that he kept pretty cleaned out, just right outside of the camera. I was really surprised at how many little bitty scrapes there were right at the base of like these tiny little like cedar, or I don't know if they were cedar or fir trees. I think they were fir trees actually. These little bitty fir saplings. They would make these tiny little scrapes, and there'd be a lot of little rubs that I would have probably not thought much of if I hadn't known this was the buck that was making them. So some cool pictures there. He was there all deer season. He showed up, at least for me, right at the beginning of it, and he stayed all the way through it. I never lost him, so this was a camera that I put up in the middle of the season and just raked out a little mock scrape. You can't even hardly see the little sapling that was right there. And he came and checked it out a few times. He was on this logging road a little bit. And looking back, I don't necessarily have as many daylight pictures of him as I felt like I did during the season, but he was in this spot that has some walkers through it. Nobody, minus one guy, ever showed up on my cameras, but there's some walkers nearby, and but he was in here all deer season long. This actually, so I ran into him once in the dark as I was biking out one night. But I got these pictures as I was going in to hunt him this morning. And so I knew he'd been in there at 3:30 chasing a doe around. That's what I assumed that was going on. He's in there at 250, he's running back and forth at 317. And so I get in there. It's hard because there's not a tree stand you can get. There's one tree you can get in here, and the wind's always awful for it. He would seem to get himself holed up in this swamp back here in the back, and the wind was always wanting to blow straight into it. And so I set up kind of off to the side of this logging road, figuring he'd gone and holed up back in here like he had before. And sure enough, I did a little call and sequence, did like a snort wheeze and did some raking, and I hear him come up the road. I hear him make 2 scrapes that I went and found right after this. And he probably was not 50 yards from me, but I'm telling you, it's so thick. It sounds just like an excuse because it is. It's so thick you can't see him. And I'm sitting on the ground and just needing him to clear this corner. And he stood there for, I thought he'd left. And there was a big gust of wind because it was probably 3 or 4 minutes where I'd heard him walking to me, and then it just goes silent, and he just stood there. And there was a big gust of wind that blew right to him, and he blew, I counted, it's going to sound like an exaggeration too, he blew 21 times before I couldn't hear him blowing anymore. And then this is only a couple 100 yards away. It's there a couple days later. This is real close to where I had busted him at. So he never seemed to get spooked too bad. If he disappeared, he was gone for like 2 weeks max. And what was really cool, and this is a prime example of what he seemed to do a lot. These aren't all the pictures I have of him, but it's a lot of them. If you'd see him going into this spot, it was about 4 days later, and he's coming back out of it. These are really cool. I got some great videos of him. Early December, he's got a whole group of does in there. And this is the only like really good set of videos that I got. But I love this one. It's just super cool. So he's a dandy. I'd love to know how old he is or how much he weighs. That's one thing that's different up here is people kill a nice deer and they don't mention how many points they had or how old he was. It's always what they weighed, which is pretty cool. Can't remember. Oh yeah, he's back here in this area. He's back here in the trees on that one. So anyways, that's just a cool deer that I ran into at least a couple times. He's a good looking one. I've got a couple ideas of how I could hunt him this year, and it's because some cool snow pictures of him. This day right here. So we finally had a good snow. I get these pictures of him going back into that little swampy area, and so I went out. I think this was after. By the time I got back, I can't remember if deer season was already over. It was really close. I ended up going back and following those tracks, and I walked miles worth of his tracks and marked a bunch of beds all over the place, and got a lot better idea of where he was. That's a great one. That's one of my favorites. So we'll see if we can use some of that to our advantage next year. I'd love to see him show back up. I know he survived the deer season at least. He looks healthy. He's old, but he's not ancient. That's a great picture. Both of those. I love those. But I got pictures of him until the 13th. That's another great one in the snow. That's a cool one. Anyways, got pictures of him until the 13th. That's the last one I got of him. And I'd been getting some others that were shedding at that point. But did a lot of walking, trying to find the sheds. Me and a friend of mine both, and never found them. So we'll see if he reappears. That'd be cool. This is, I'll save the best for last. These are just some other random cool pictures over the course of the year, just from a bunch of different cameras. I had a lot of very close owl encounters this year, actually, which was pretty cool. There's a neat owl. This long, short buck was around a lot, really wide. Long and short doesn't necessarily go together. That's that Exodus buck there. Put those in the wrong spot. That wide buck, he's pretty cool. There's me being a goober, picking up cameras. This was really cool. Had some piebald does. So I wasn't sure if it was just the light on that picture, but there she is with her little white behind slipping in the trees there. That's pretty cool. That's that wide buck back here hiding. Never saw him in person. Nice little basket rack. He just randomly showed up at the end of the year. That spot, so all of these pictures are coming from the same general area. That was the only picture I ever got of that one. He'd be a 10-pointer if they match up. Assuming that is his main beam. That's a cool looking one. But that bigger buck, that Exodus buck, that's the only buck that was consistent in that spot all year. That wide one came and went a little bit. These two, I was so excited about this spot. That's that first camera I hung. I didn't get jack squat off of this camera except for those two pictures. Both nice deer. Never got a good one other than those two. Let's see. Oh, there's a bear. Didn't get as many bear pictures. I've learned since then this spot has a lot of bear nearby up on the ridge. Only got a couple bear pictures. There's that wide buck. I did see this buck. I think right after I got a couple pictures of him here. It was pretty early, but he was chasing a doe. Like, what would this be? Early in the third week of September. He got pretty close. I could hear him and catch a glimpse of him. This was just during bow. Oh boy. But a doe pulled him a long ways across a creek and out of sight, out of mind. I don't know if that's the same buck or not. That's just a little blurry nighttime picture. But anyways, so some cool encounters, some cool pictures. There's one that's shed. And then I put those videos in there just to make sure I didn't lose them. Anything else cool in here? Oh, yeah. Another piebald doe in the snow. Cool, cool. Pretty neat, pretty neat. Okay. Let's keep it moving. Just another buck. Okay, okay. Yep. Same big buck. Same nice one. Yep. Okay. All right. Here's what I am excited about. This spot, I didn't hunt at all last year. I went and put 2 trail cameras up that were not cell cams, just ran to Walmart, bought a couple of wild game ones, which love the wild game ones. The dates are wrong. I've got the right ones up top. Put these out like first week of November, just because I'd learned about a new place that I could hunt, and I can't wait to go here next year. So this is in a little tiny opening in a thicket. That's just one buck. This is November 20th. A nice one. Look at this brute. Look how big his brow tines look, if I'm looking at them right. Maybe I'm picturing things, but that's a nice one. And what I didn't include, I should have, the picture before this, there's a doe cutting through here. And right there, if I flip the next two back and forth, you can see her hind end right there. But within 4 hours, even though the time's wrong, still adjusted it. And there's 5 bucks that trail this doe over the course of 4 hours. So that's a giant to me. That's a huge one. So that's the first one. Those aren't the same deer. They're about 7 minutes apart. 1, 2, there he goes. 3, 4, broken point there on his left side. He's about to come back. 5, between 8:45 and 11:45. And look at this one. Look at how gnarly this buck is. That is a regal beast of the forest. That's just a cool picture. So, and all this in this place, it's really close to me. It's a huge piece of land. It's all public access. So that one I'm really excited about, because there's some cool looking stuff at this place right here. Just another nice buck. That would have been October 30th. So that's the first picture I got there, actually. So for as long as it was there, it was really just like a week-long span. But man, it popped off for a couple days there in November. That's a huge one. So I'm gonna split my cameras up. There's a lot of other places we did hunt too, or got some ideas to hunt. Maybe just saw and have added to the list. So got about 10 more cameras. So we got like 19 cameras we'll put out. Most of them are cell cams. I actually just got my massive order of batteries today. That was pricey. So we'll start getting those out in the next month or two. But we've got more cameras. We've got a lot better idea of what we're looking for and where we're putting them. So until then, let's just enjoy this video one more time. And I'll thank you for watching. And we'll be back with some regularly scheduled summer fishing programming coming up soon. We appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're not. And we'll see you on the next one.